What's up, everybody? Welcome to TeslaFix. Today we have another special episode. Is Tesla still a success? I mean, we've seen interesting stuff. Here is a new category about to hit now. Maybe a small trailer for the Roadster coming up. Of course, I'm talking about the Model 3 Highland that's already available in the US, but now we kind of gets ludicrous. So let's look into that. For that, I have a very special person here. So let's see who it is. Farzad is back.
Hello.
We found him again. He is so busy running his channel, of course. Here he is again. And Farzad, I'm happy that you are back here because we're about to hit 7,000 subscribers and you're like the channel figure, lighting statue, lighthouse. Strange expressions here, but yeah, just
what, like a German saying? What are you saying right now, bro?
No, it's difficult. No, I just wanted to say the figures that are on the ships in the front, galleon figures, or how are they called?
Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
Like the mermaid, they have at the front of the ship. Okay, so I'm a mermaid.
Yeah.
You're calling me a mermaid right now, bro?
Yeah, no. No, I just mean when I celebrate success, you have to be on. Let's put it this way.
Thank you, man.
It's way simpler to say that.
Heck
so,
yeah.
Farzad, please tell everybody what you're up to. And yeah, let's dive in.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you so much for having me back on. It's been awesome watching your channel grow. It's been so cool. I remember our first conversation, I believe you weren't even at 1,000. You were like low numbers.
I've interviewed you even for my master's thesis. And from there, I started the channel.
That's right.
Yeah, and you inspired me to do that. A little bit credit is due to you again, as always. But I
appreciate you having me on. Like always, man. It's always such a good time here. I think you do such a good job. I mean, what I love about your channel, the production of it is so good. You could tell that you know what you're doing, right? I mean, it's one of those things. And so if you haven't subscribed yet, let's get this man to 70,000. So just subscribe down here. Just let's blow past 7,000 and let's get to 70,000, okay?
I might quit my job then. Jesus.
Even better. Pay the bills. Let's go.
Yeah. All right, Farzad. So we've seen very interesting stuff with Tesla. We've heard some downturns. The stock is tumbling and going up again and stuff like this. We have all those stuff. Elon Musk in the news all the time. Normal stuff. Every day, Tesla Q stuff going on. How do you view the success of Tesla in this year? Maybe we start with that, and then we can go into the Model 3 Highland, Ludicrous, of course.
For sure. Yeah, it's an interesting year. I mean, I think the overarching thesis here is if you follow the story closely, you're used to seeing Tesla growing very rapidly. If you started with the Model 3 launch back in 2016, 2017, and you've seen the company grow all the way through 2023, they've been on this sort of, call it 7-year massive growth spurt that a lot of people back in 2016, 2017 thought was absolutely impossible. So we started with that, and then we ended in 2023 with them having the best-selling car in the world with the Model Y. 20% more sales than the next runner-up in the Toyota Corolla, which costs half as much as the Model Y, which is also sold in way more markets than the Model Y. Oh, and by the way, it's a gas car, it's not electric, okay? Oh, and by the way, Tesla didn't advertise or market for the Model Y. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that seems like a terrible place to be, right? No, of course not. That seems like a lot of good achievements.
Doomed. Come on. They're almost the last place, I hear. That's what I hear. Yeah.
If you ain't first, second, and third, you're last, apparently. So that's the thought process here. But I do understand the frustration, right? Because the frustration is, okay, so we're looking at this company. They said 50% CAGR, so compounded annual growth rate for the foreseeable future. And now there is this period of, okay, now for the company to continue down that path, the guidance is we have to wait essentially for the compact car, because the compact car is a car that's going to get us there. That doesn't necessarily mean that the company's not going to grow in 2024, but the growth won't be like the 30, 40, 50%. It'll be closer to maybe 5, 10, 20%, whatever those numbers are. The more important takeaway here is that if you view Tesla's performance relative to everybody else who is getting into the EV space, which if you are a person who is on the side of the next generation transportation systems will be electric, it really paints a really positive picture for Tesla. And why is that? So if you look at Tesla's numbers, even though their profitability is down in 2023 versus say 2022, after all the COVID stuff that happened and everybody was able to charge twice for the cars, where they had incredibly good margins, now the margins have come down, so they're making less money. The very important thing here to say is that they are making money. They're actually making a significant amount of money on their cars. They have some of the best margins per car sold and some of the best net income probably the best net income per car sold out of any automaker out there, selling about 2 million units per year. Compare that to any other EV maker out there, including BYD, and you have a picture that's paints Tesla as the only one that's able to make electric vehicles at a profit, and not only just at a profit, at a significant profit. So that they have that going for them, right? From a competitive landscape, you look at Ford, GM, Stellantis, Volkswagen, or Volkswagen. Sorry, we're in Germany.
Yes, please be careful. Yes.
Sorry, 9. Oh yeah, I'm going to stop there. So you have all these automakers, all these legacy automakers that relative to Tesla's performance, they're going the opposite way. So you look at Ford slowing down EV plans, and if you look at their fourth quarter financials for their EV segment, the losses are accelerating and their growth has flatlined. The GM and the other ones don't even show their profitability, right? And they're doing the same exact thing. They are pulling back on EV plans or delaying them because the signal they're saying is like, hey, EVs are not performing as good. So cool. So now, relatively speaking, Tesla is increasing their lead versus everybody else who is making the next generation transportation systems. Now, the caveat there is companies like BYD, the Chinese competitors. BYD is actually doing a really good job. Truly, they're really doing a phenomenal job. They're growing their business. They sold more EVs in Q4 2023 than Tesla did. That's a huge accomplishment. And it's funny too, because Tesla buys batteries from BYD as well for some of their cars. That is an exception to the rule when we're talking about Tesla's competition. BYD and some other players in China, they're doing a phenomenal job. But when you put that within the context of the total auto industry, there's 1.4 billion gas cars in the world, and the amount of EVs in the world is less than probably 4% or something like that. I forget what the number is, but global units of cars. Now you have the beginnings of the next generation transportation systems with Tesla at the front with profit and unit capability. Then you have the next player, which is BYD, that's getting there with the unit, especially because they have much cheaper cars than Tesla does. And then you have everybody else. And everybody else ain't making money on their stuff, and they're pulling back, right? So that's the state of 2024 for Tesla. And they don't have a compact car, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And they just started ramping their pickup truck, which by everything points to the car being a gigantic success. We'll just have to wait and see if that's the case. And then we're not even talking about version 12, which that's
no. Haven't you heard that when celebrities buy the cars and use them without sponsorships, that's a bad sign? Actually,
oh, it's a bad sign. Yeah.
That's a bad sign. That's
actually it's worse, Jan. You know what that means? It means that Kim Kardashian likes what Elon's saying on X. That's oh my god, that's horrific. That's the worst thing ever.
Can't be. Cancel everybody, please.
But that's the ridiculousness of the bubble, right? Like, if you really think about that, that's for people that follow the story very closely. That is what close people get exposed to, is some of those ridiculous takes out there that say Tesla is doomed because they have an outspoken CEO. It's like, yeah, okay. I will concede the fact that what Elon says from time to time will make people uncomfortable, but to somehow connect that to, well, Tesla's long-term success will not be viable because of that behavior is silly. Because if that was true, then Amazon would cease to exist after people started hating on Bezos for being a billionaire. Volkswagen wouldn't exist after people would figure out who the initial person that launched the car business was back in the 1930s, which we won't mention on this podcast.
Nothing to see here.
We can move on from that. Yeah. Then you have people that buy iPhones and they're like, oh, cobalt mining is the worst thing ever. There's kids, which is one of the worst things ever. Some cobalt comes from countries that have horrifically bad practices, and those same people will buy an iPhone, right? And those same people that hate Bezos will order from Amazon. So it's like we're allowing this bubble thinking to dictate what the long-term success of the company is going to be. At times like these, for myself, and again, people are more than welcome to do whatever they like. I'm just kind of speaking about how I view the company. I just go back to the fundamentals. I'm like, okay, does Tesla still have a technological advantage? And everything points to yes. They're able to make EVs at a profit, and they don't even have a truly affordable compact car out. The advancements they're making with full self-driving technology have been phenomenal. Version 12, from all signs, looks like it will perform better than version 11 already, with 1/6 of the time of development, with a brand new approach, with the lowest amount of data they'll ever have and the lowest amount of hardware they'll ever have. Okay, so then you look at that. You look at Cybertruck, fantastic car. And everybody's raving about how shockingly well it performs because of steer-by-wire and the 48-volt architecture and all the sort of how well packaged it is. And then we'll talk, the Highland is another, what a segue there, my goodness. The Highland is another piece, another product there that shows that Tesla's still executing at a high level, because they've taken an architecture that they started with in 2016, 2017, which was, let's say, less than stellar, especially when Monroe Live and other people came in and said this is a piece of junk. But it isn't until they looked at the electronics they were like shocked. So they look at the Model 3, and then now 7 years later they came out with this new version with the Highland that is getting insanely good reviews from everybody. Best value for money. Probably, I know MKBHD called it a mini Model S. Which is basically says, okay, there's a lot of luxury, and then you can lease that car in the States for $329, and it starts at, 35 or less, 33 with the EV tax credit. Okay. Yep. And now they're coming out with a performance model, which is probably going to be
ludicrous. Going to be ludicrous.
Ludicrous, right?
Yeah.
So I'll shut up there, because, that's, I understand the frustration from a stock performance, not financial advice, not investment advice. I understand that. But if you follow Tesla's story and its history from 2012, since it IPO'd, most of the time the stock is crap. So it's just normal, y'all. We're just in normal times. We are. This is how it is.
I think I have to jump in here also, because you've mentioned a lot of competitors. No, it's easy. That's perfect. You summed it up perfectly. That's why I didn't step in here. It was a great summary to see the point where we are right now. I also agree with you on many, many points, especially on the competition, because Mercedes, for example, had the plan to shift to EVs in 2030. Guess who just said they're going to go with 50% EVs in 2030. That kind of seems like BMW now. And it's so funny because they are not dedicated. But I mean, it's not too, I'm not shocked by that, because they partnered with Geely to produce the Smart One. That was one thing they did. That was their test vehicle. And now guess who's going to build the next EQS line? Geely will build the next EQS line. That means they are not capable of producing EVs. Now we see the dominoes fall, like we said 2 years ago already, but they keep on falling and falling. It's horrible for the market, of course. I'm not happy about that the German car manufacturers are struggling so much, but it's the reality. And they are for e-fuels and stuff like this. The incentives was cut in Germany for the EVs now. That was cut in December, actually. Just so you know, regarding the Model 3 Highland, I can say that I tested it pretty thoroughly, because it's available in Germany. And I don't know if you know it, but maybe someone bought a Model 3 Highland has one. And
who could it be?
I don't know, but the person seems to be super happy, because I have to share here for 1 second how ridiculous it actually is, because here, that's how I walk to my car in the morning, and I'm still not over that I just can open this thing up, sit inside, press the brake and buckle in, and then I can start the car. It's ridiculous.
Is this your first Tesla?
Yeah, that's my first Tesla, my first EV even. And I always had shitty 2,000 euro cars, used cars all the time. Now I have this, and I will never, ever go back from this brand. It's too convenient. It's too crazy how
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah, of course.
On that? Okay. So this is actually a very good, you're using autopilot there, right?
Yeah.
Looks like.
Yeah. Kind of lane keeping, because in Europe it's a little bit janky and not so, city steering is not as good as in the US. We don't get as much love than you guys have, but it's due to regulations, yeah.
So then let me ask you this. So then, as somebody who has been driving gas cars forever, and now this is your first EV and it's your first Tesla, what are your top 3 biggest takeaways? And how long have you had the car for?
I've ordered it 3 days before Christmas, could pick it up during the holidays, kind of in between, 1 week later. and
Yeah.
drove off the lot. That was ridiculous.
So you had it for 2 months.
For 2 months, yeah.
Okay. So then top 3 biggest differences between that car and the cars you've driven in the past.
Top 1 would be the profile. Okay, the Mac test.
What the heck?
That's also a thing. I think Apple does stuff like this. I don't know. I think if you have a Mac, it should work.
I'm not on it.
Okay. But ignore that, please. Thank you, Tim Cook, for this distraction. No, but the main thing is the profiles alone is having a profile linked to your car and walking up to the car, and it sets the seat. It adjusts the seat for you. It adjusts the steering wheel for you. It adjusts all the settings you had before to you. This is insane for me. This is insane for me. And walking up to the car, not locking it, I don't know. Can I name even three things that?
Keep going. Go as long as you want.
Hey, it's absolutely ridiculously crazy. I'm so shocked, still in shock over how ridiculous a normal car is. Because, for example, I had friends over and they said, yeah, maybe we can take it for a spin one time. And I'm like, yeah. Right now, I sent them the link to my car, and then they had the car key, and then I just said, walk down, get into the car, and drive off. And I wasn't even scared that they're gonna scratch it or anything, because I know it's so intuitive to use this car that they can use it, and they figured it out by themselves. I didn't even tell them what to do. They just walked in and they were amazed and shocked by this car. It's these things alone. I mean, I could send you if you were in Germany and my car was here and I was in, I don't know, Argentina or something, I could send you the key. What else?
Wow.
What else? I mean, this alone is like, from the technology standpoint, this is insane. I'm super amazed by these features and how quick it is. You sit in the car, you drive off. It's so easy. It's so simple. And and the acceleration, of course, is great. It's a standard range even, but I even took the sportier wheel, so I deducted my own range. It's a Poser long range, I would say. So, but still,
how has charging been?
Can't. Yeah, charging was also convenient. For example, when I go to the store, for example, I charge my car for half an hour, then it's half full. Again, when I'm back from shopping, and so it's easy. At my work, it charges a little bit slower because there we just have slow charges, and it's a little bit expensive there because I can't charge for free there. But since I live in an apartment, I cannot charge as much here. That would be actually pretty good. One caveat that I would say for people who own a gas car that you have to get used to, and if you don't have access to a charger at night, would be that you have phantom draining. That's 2% per day, so sometimes in winter even 3, maybe 3.5-ish sometimes. I had that also. Sentry mode is off limits then, of course, because it drains too much power, even more. But that's something to get used to. But overall, the rest, I much rather have Tesla heat up or cool my battery than having battery degradation. So I think that's the best approach they could do. That's not an issue at all. And I would say cost-wise, since I can't charge at home, it's similar than my gas car. Overall, I'm happy. I mean, charging is easy and it's not as bad as people think. It's easy.
Especially in a country like Germany, where I think they're definitely going to take steps to the infrastructure for charging. One of the misconceptions is that people say, well, EVs are not going to be successful because the infrastructure is not there. But my rebuttal to that would be the only way for the infrastructure to be there is for people to buy EVs. Like, you need supply and demand. You need the demand for charging for them to supply the chargers, right? So it's like a very backwards way of thinking about it. Like, if you go back to 100 years ago when the gas car started coming out, what was there first, the gas station or the car? It was the car. Because guess what? The gas station was in response to the car, because the car was such a game-changing technology that companies are like, oh, wait, now we're going to have to wait. Like, it would make sense for us to build gas stations because there's going to be more people using cars. And so in the case of Tesla and electric vehicles, I mean, from hearing you talk about it, it's still very fun for me to listen to people that have bought an EV for the first time. Not even Tesla, like, let's say any electric vehicle, because the benefits of having an electric vehicle are so superior to having a gas car. Not having an engine opens up so many possibilities from a technological perspective, because in a gas car, the main power source for the car is not the battery, it's not the 12-volt battery, it's the engine. And when you have to turn on the engine and turn off the engine to power anything in the car. And so hearing your experience, it's just so cool to hear, because a gigantic amount of people still don't know what you just said. They still haven't
Yeah,
experienced that thing.
I know. And the fun thing is I knew all of that, but I haven't experienced it. And it's
different,
day
right?
and night. It's day and night. Because it clicks, it just clicks when you walk up to the car and it opens up. It's just it makes sense. And I had even a very fun situation because I have my second car still, the gas car. I still have that because my wife sometimes needs it to pick up our kid and stuff like this. So we still have both cars. And one time I had to drive the other car. Do you think I knew how to use the blinkers? Do you think I knew anything? I was like, oh my God, I'm about to crash. Seriously, I'm about
Isn't
to
it
crash.
crazy? So when you go from regen braking to a gas
After
car,
1
right?
month, what the heck?
It feels like the car's out of control. You
Yes.
you let your foot off the gas, and you're like, why is this car still going? What is wrong with it? Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. And
then when you do that, and when you do brake in a gas car, you realize just how much force, how much momentum a gas car has. And then you put your foot on the brake, you're like, holy crap, no wonder I have to change my brakes every 1,000 miles. It's because this giant thing is like these little things need to slow it down. And then you think about an EV, it's like you let let the accelerator off, and then it's just the motor's in reverse. You're like, wow, that makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. I'm shocked. I have so much trust in the car that I let people kind of drive alone with it. I don't even supervise anymore. Because also my wife, I just said, look, here's how you put it in drive. Here's how you put it in park. Here's the brake. Here's the gas pedal. Have fun. And then she just drives off and no one said, oh God, I didn't know what to do. It was so intuitive for them, even without stocks. She got used to it very fast. It's not an issue. I think when people have deep muscle memory in with the blinkers and flicking it in the roundabouts, for example, or stuff like this, I get it. If you game a little bit or had a controller in your hand one time, then you kind of know how this works, and you get used to it so fast. And for me, it was
change is uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I mean, change is uncomfortable for humans. Like we're just not. We don't do well with change. But if you have something that's clearly better, so if you think about the iPhone, right? The iPhone was a giant departure from your traditional cell phone because you're going from having physical keys to something that's just touch, right? And so, that famous Steve Ballmer interview about, the iPhone, this super expensive thing that doesn't have a physical keyboard because it's not an email machine. It's like, that's a perfect example of like, okay, yes, it's a huge change. It's a huge departure. But what does that change enable? It enables you to have down the road an app store that completely revolutionizes what it means to have a phone in your pocket. It turns into a computer.
Yeah, the intuitiveness is just absolutely crazy to experience, and people have to really experience it. And I also think that with all the problems or the bad news we always hear, and the performance, and the investors aren't happy, or the big institutional investors at least, and you feel this shake up in the market or anything. It's interesting when you use their product and use where this product fits and where it is located at in the market and what this means. And then you see something like Mercedes. You just have to look at the competitors, actually. What are they doing? Yeah, they're pulling back. BYD is the only one that can produce or can compete, at least, with Tesla, I would say. Yeah, at scale. And they provide even batteries to them, so they also have kind of a partnership. It's a great thing that they have it. But what I also would say is BYD, because I've seen the seal, and the seal was like in the tests in Germany also, like everybody talked about the BYD seal and how great it is, and this is the Tesla killer and stuff like this. No, it is an Android. It's an Android versus Apple. That's the thing we are seeing here, because the software is so refined with Tesla. It's a total different story. It's really like iPhone versus Android, kind of. And it's great. They're going to get to the mass market for sure. Maybe they even sell more cars than Tesla. But Tesla, in the end, I think will have one more margin, I would say. And also the same numbers, I would say. I mean, they are aiming at scale and at low-cost vehicles as well. And there will be a time where the price parity of an EV will shift, that it is way cheaper than a gas car. In the US, it already is, with the incentives accounted for, but there will be a point where the productions even, like, there will not be a cheaper gasoline car to be produced.
100%.
It will be a time where this will come, and Tesla will refine the product. I think they will be the ones.
I agree 100% with that. I think the overarching premise here is that gas cars are obsolete. Gas cars are obsolete, right? It just takes a while. It takes a while. The legacy automakers will probably try to go hybrid in the meantime because they know they can make money on hybrids, but all they're going to do is they're going to just make the manufacturing process more complex, and it's just such a wild time. So the only way for the gas makers to stay alive is to shift to a process that's going to be more expensive, that is inferior to just the pure EV experience, because it has way more parts. It's going to be way more expensive, right? So it's just not going to be very smart. But so in that context, then you really are living in a world where you, in my opinion, the best way to think about the car industry is by thinking about it from the standpoint of looking at electric vehicle manufacturers that can produce at scale, meaning at least 1 to 2 million units per year right now of pure electric vehicles, ideally at a profit, because that proves that they're able to have a viable long-term business model. If you don't make money with your business, you're not a business, unfortunately, right? So look, if you look at Rivian, they're struggling. Fantastic cars, so good. They really are fantastic cars. Struggling. Lucid, fantastic cars. They really are. But talk about a horrifically terrible business model. They're losing almost $400,000 per car sold. Crazy. And the CEO keeps making money.
He's making more than his own business. Crazy.
He is.
Kind of is. Yeah. And Brian, also from My Tesla Weekend, or now Futuraza, he changed his name, but he also talked about this, especially about Lucid, because Lucid's the guarantees on the cars are very, very bad because they uncorked the car. So this they uncorked the car. This means that for some periods, on paper it's better than the Model S, the range and everything, but they uncorked the car. That means the reliability of this car will be very, very bad. And they aim to the luxury segment and hope that people will just switch off the cars fast enough that nobody will notice.
That would be a shame if that's the case. That's a huge gamble. And
also every time when car manufacturers are competing with Tesla on their specs, on their speed and everything, really have to look into the performance of the car because they have a special mode where they kind of uncork their cars. Yeah. And that's not good because then the components are used heavily. I've seen, I don't know which car it was, but it was also a newer EV. I'm not sure if it was a Kia or something. You have 500 launches in the fast, the speed mode. And then it's off. I'm not sure if it was Kia or there was one manufacturer, or Fisker.
No.
Was it Fisker?
Yes, Fisker. It was Fisker.
Yeah, it was Fisker. Yeah, for example, like this. What the heck? 500 use cases. Okay, 500 launches. Good idea.
That I'm pretty sure MKBHD's title for that video was "This is the worst car I've ever reviewed."
Yes.
Can I confirm that? Hold on.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know it.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's horrible.
But I mean, look, this is the worst car I've ever reviewed, like literally word for word, 8 days ago. This is the worst car I've ever reviewed. Yikes. But I think the overarching point here is, okay, I want every single EV manufacturer to succeed. I know you do too. I think almost all, let's say, Tesla fans or Ford fans, like Mach-E fans or Rivian fans, they love to see the shift away from gas cars and electric vehicles, not necessarily because of the environment and stuff like that, and which I'm sure for some people that's very important, but it's just better. It's just a better product, right? And I'm not trying to dog on gas cars. I think gas cars, obviously, there are some very great gas cars, and they serve a purpose, a very important one, which is to provide transportation for people, which is one of the most important things for human beings in this day and age. But the reality is there's a better technology out there, right? The thing that's happening now in 2024, though, which I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit, was we can't talk about Teslas and BYDs and Rivians and Lucid's performance and how some of them is good, some of them are good, some of them are bad. But the other thing that's happening now, probably because of Elon Musk's sort of over optimism in getting this technology done, which I'm talking about self-driving, because he has been so over optimistic about how quickly it was going to come to fruition, a lot of people are beginning to really dismiss just what this means to the auto industry. But the reality of the matter is that we are on the precipice. And I've said this multiple times as well, because again, I am also somebody that's like, well, clearly the guy has fantastic track record. I should probably listen to him. And then he misses. I'm like, well, it's hard. It is hard. I get it. But it's obvious. It's becoming very, very obvious, especially with this version 12 release. You're going to have cars in the very, 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 very near future that are going to do the driving for you. And cars that can do that at scale, meaning that it doesn't cost $200,000 plus to manufacture a self-driving car, this breaks what it means to own a transportation unit. It breaks it completely apart because of the economics of it, right? If you can just have a car pick you up and drop you off, and you don't have to worry about parking, you don't have to worry about owning it, you don't have to worry about charging, you don't have to worry about safety because it's going to be way safer than a human, right? Then what does it mean to move from point A to point B? It's just the cost of electricity and the cost of maintenance of an electric vehicle, which is going to be fractions less than a gas car. And then once you remove the largest variable of cost, which is the driver, you're left with an equation where the cost per mile to go from point A to point B becomes probably long-term 1/10 or less of what it is today. And you think about what does that do to the total addressable market of people that want to get from point A to point B. And then you're able to do that in the privacy of your own ride. You don't have to carpool with somebody. You don't have to take the bus. You don't have to like walk. You just hail a self-driving Tesla and it will come pick you up and drop you off at work. And instead of costing, $500 per month to own a car to do that, it's like maybe $50 per month. And you're able to do that. Maybe even less, honestly, right? So this is where we're going. And it seems like Tesla, from my vantage point at least, it seems like they are the only company that has the right equation to solve for this at scale. And this is something I believe the company has become extremely good at. It's bringing technologies that traditionally have been state-of-the-art and unprofitable. They figure out how to make it profitable and they bring it to scale. That's what they did with reusable rocketry at SpaceX. That's what they did with the electric vehicle with Tesla. And it looks like that's what they're going to do with self-driving technology, again, with Tesla. And if the self-driving piece works, then one has to start taking very seriously their ambitions with a Tesla bot, which is done by the same exact technology that solves for the self-driving piece. And this is all becoming reality, right? It's just, again, we're in a period of Tesla's working at it and it's not there yet. And you have a lot of people that are invested in the name and it's frustrating to watch it go down, even though that's what Tesla usually does. If you look at the history of the stock, right? It sucks, right? I mean, it's starting to play out. At least I'll go out on a limb and say, I think 2024, and I've said it before in my videos, I think 2024 is the year for self-driving. I think, Elon has talked about ChatGPT moment. We're having some very early indications of it being that ChatGPT moment with version 12. I know people that have version 12 personally that have used it. I don't share any of their details, but the feedback I'm getting, I've never heard this type of feedback before where there is a unanimous chorus from these people saying, this is it. This is the one. I'm not going to sit down and speak on their behalf, even though I kind of did.
Yeah, okay.
But the point I'm trying to make here
was
is...
that a leak? Farzad exposed FSD?
No. Don't use that thumbnail.
No, I won't.
Yeah, but no, I think it's... The point I'm trying to make here in a very long-winded way is that I think it's super, super, super underrated because of the overpromise and underdeliver of the company when it comes to technology. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to get done. And now it's coming to the point where it's going to get done. And now when it gets done, all hell breaks loose. It gets weird.
Absolutely. It's super interesting to see that because I was also very furious when they removed the sensors, the parking sensors, for example, because I thought, why? And they didn't have the solution ready, and they sold 1.5 years cars without parking sensors. But I had the Model 3 Highland without parking sensors, of course, with the older update and then with the holiday update. I had both cases, and at first it was just the distance measuring. I was like, I'm not really sure if that's correct. But now, having just the 3D view of the car while parking, I must say it kind of works. I would love to have a front-facing camera still, but I think this is just an example for Tesla, going to your point again, that they're going to solve with the software and just the cameras. They can solve everything almost. It's ridiculous. The distances is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's 100% perfect and accurate. I need to check that, but what I can see, I never bumped into a car, if that makes sense. I just seen the way I have to park, and it worked all the time. So
let me ask you a question: How did people?
I'm not missing them.
How did people park before parking sensors?
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't have
Magic?
one in my old car, so no, I just opened up the door a bit and looked out of the car even. Yeah, that's how I did it. But
Right?
but it also worked. So yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, and now we have cameras and everything. It's super easy to park. Actually, it's I'm 100% sure that AutoPark will also work with that system. That's a non-issue now. Really a non-issue. It was like swept away my concerns when I used it 3 times. I'm like, okay, now I get it. Why they? Okay, I'm not furious anymore.
I mean, and you can kind of think about it too. Is like, you know, even if you're concerned about like having certain angles, the car, as long as it can remember what it saw, it just paints a picture. Right, so it doesn't have to see the back of the
even
car.
The height,
it just knows
the
it's
height
there.
even you can.
The
it's
height.
a 3D view. You can even see the height of the end object. You can see trees or anything. It's like it's a point cloud where you can see the distance kind of, and it even sees the lanes and the markings on the street, which is also pretty good. And these are parts of full self. Exactly, and this is so crazy. With you've mentioned it also. Like what sentiment did actually change? Tesla produced more cars and is producing more and more cars. They are producing more and more factories. Actually, they're expanding their factories, so they are still in a growth phase. And they are already very big. With the Model Y, for example, being the best-selling car in the world. I also had Cern Basha on. He tinkers around with those great. He has these great Excel sheets, and he goes into detail with the valuation or how much money like the different segments will make. And the bot is insane, really insane. You can even wrap your head around how much value the bot has. But just FSD. Absolutely. And the FSD, he calculated some scenarios with many variables, of course, so nothing to pinpoint there and say, oh, that's super accurate. But it's crazy how much value this will have. And it was interesting to see this experiment, to see how much the transportation game will be changed by FSD, and people maybe are furious about Elon saying, it's going to come out next week. It should be already here since December. It doesn't matter. It could be 3 years, but when it's solved, it will make it's a click of a button, an update, and suddenly we have robotaxi fleets everywhere, and we're like, wait a second, where are all those Ubers coming from now out of the blue?
Exactly.
So,
I would be a lot more concerned if they weren't making progress, right? I think I understand being frustrated by missing timelines, and of course it's frustrating, right? Especially when you're a public company, and especially when you're Tesla, and especially when Elon Musk is involved. You're going to have the maximum amount of eyeballs that you could possibly have on you analyzing what's happening. From that standpoint, I understand if there's a number of people that are critical of timelines. But if you, again, view it within the context of, okay, but what is everybody else doing? Nobody else has a path to build self-driving vehicles that are at scale. This is like that second part, at scale, constantly gets missed. And so the rebuttal I sometimes hear is, well, Waymo has level 4 today. And I'm like, they sure do. And it's super impressive and it's freaking awesome. But how much does it cost Waymo to build a self-driving Waymo? 250 grand? Okay, cool. How many of them can they make a year? 20,000?
Do you
Maybe not
own
even.
one in your garage? Do you have an app where you can just put it, upload it to the fleet? Can you do that?
How many cities have they mapped? Right? It relies on mapping. What happens when they're in 100 cities and those cities are doing construction? What happens to that? Right? So it's like, you know, what happens to literally everywhere else in the world where it's a non-scalable solution. It's incredibly impressive. It is freaking awesome. The Waymo team deserves a giant amount of credit. Baidu, Zoox, go down the line, whatever you want. They figured out how to make a car drive itself without AI, and they muscled it through. They used legacy sensors. They married them all together. They mapped the cities, and they have a self-driving car that they appear to be significantly safer than a human. That's fantastic. That is a fantastic achievement. Cool. How many of them can you make a year? And how much does it cost to run? Okay. Does it seem like it's profitable? Long term, that's not a viable solution.
That's the point. I think when people are criticizing Tesla or are furious, even investors. So again, no financial advice here. It's just my opinion that I see. look at the competition, look at what they are doing, look how screwed they actually are, look where the position of Tesla is, and then move on. I mean, just
it's a
just
bias
let
against
the stock
Tesla.
sit and just relax for the rest of eternity, I would say, because it's a no-brainer that they're going to solve it. And that's what I meant with the parking sensors. So you can see clearly in that scenario, the vision system just works. Even if they have to put a new camera in the bumper someday or retrofit something, who knows, who cares? I think, it's such a different story. And one thing I wanted to show you as well, because I think now we are in this technology space, I want to go with the Model 3 Highland to the Ludicrous Highland that we're going to see the performance variant. But at first I wanted to show you this, because this is not available in the US right now. That's just available in Germany. That's why I couldn't show you that. Because the high beams were solved by Tesla with an update. Now in Europe we have this. Can you see that the high beams here?
It doesn't shine on the other cars. Yeah. That's cool. The matrix lights.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yep. Over there.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see it like the do, and then it goes do. Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna disable the Latino music for 1 second.
Here
you can
clearly use that
see. Yeah. But it's due to, I think, regulation on your end. That's a little bit difficult. Do you see that? Do you see that? They're sideways. And it realizes the cars. Do you see that?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, and now people will say, wait a second, my 2018 BMW could do that. Yes, this technology is not new, but 2018 is a little bit early. I would say it's later. But still, those matrix LEDs, now they just solved high beams, because this was a huge issue before. I've tested that when I went into lane keeping. I was like, oh god, please, sorry. I was like this, or on a crosswalk, I'm like, oh god, stop it, stop it, Tesla. Stop it, Tesla. Yeah. I didn't high beam you, sorry. But now it's solved. It's just with the update, it was solved. And I'm super astonished. By the way, this post was liked by Elon Musk as well. And it got 100,000 views. Also, May Musk liked one post from it was just funny to experience that. Yeah, but it's that's what I mean. The updates, the over-the-air updates it's just crazy. You can see it yourself. I mean, Porsche, for example, does a way better job with those high beams. They have a way more dense matrix LEDs, and they are very soft, so you don't see the pixels as much. Mm-hmm. But this is I think a cheap, viable solution that works, and I think that's the density they need from the cost perspective as well. So, I mean, the Model 3 Highland isn't so expensive, so that's a good thing. I think the cost is also a factor to consider here as well, and this should be standard with every car, and it will be, I think. So yeah, that's something I really love about Tesla, how they think 10 years ahead kind of, and then implement, for example, also with removing the stocks. Yeah, of course it's difficult if you have it turned the wheel 3 times more or less, not so much, but in the roundabouts, for example, you have to still remember where to press so you can blink out of the roundabout, which is mandatory here in Europe. When you have steer-by-wire, you don't have this kind of turning radius, and that's what they thought of, and that's why they already got rid of the stocks, because they don't need them anymore for their future product. They're visualizing already, and sometimes it's a little bit janky for the user, or clunky for a few months or maybe half a year, and then there's an update and suddenly, okay, now it works.
But what's crazy about the steer-by-wire system is that steer-by-wire was enabled because of 48 volts. Mm-hmm. If they didn't have 48 volts in the car, steer-by-wire wouldn't be nearly as easy to execute against. And so the move to 48 volts to me is like the real breakthrough here. Like it's such a huge deal. And you think about what are the other things that will enable from an electronics perspective. I mean, it just makes sense when you can have a higher voltage to this through a wire without having to worry as much about heat and heat dissipation and all that stuff. Like it becomes really obvious. It becomes really clear that it's going to enable a pathway to have a lot more electronic type stuff in the car that is electronically powered. In an age where you have self-driving cars, what does that mean? That seems like it opens a host of different possibilities in that self-driving car that has that architecture. Not just, it starts with steer-by-wire, but it probably transforms into, I don't know, like it gets weird. You can start leveraging that power for other stuff as well. People way smarter than me will figure that out, but it gives you a blank slate on how to innovate on that.
Do you think that they're gonna implement 48 volts in every car they make?
Yes. Moving forward, yeah. I think moving forward, I think the compact car will have 48 volt steer by wire. I also think Cybertruck already does, obviously. The van will have that. I think at some point they'll move S and X to steer by wire 48 volt, and I think they'll also move 3 and Y at some point to 48 volt steer by wire. They probably won't do that until the compact car is fully ramped and the Cybertruck is fully ramped, so they can shut down the factories and start rolling out the Ys and the 3s and the S's and the X's with steer by wire 48 volt. But that will also probably require them to do a complete, my guess is probably sometime this decade. This is just going completely out on a limb. If Tesla does decide to keep the S and the X, which they might not, to be honest, because Fremont has a lot of land and you could just use that for the compact car instead. So instead of shipping 500,000 3s, Ys, S's, and X's, you could ship 2 million compact cars.
Yeah.
That drive themselves. The economics, will tell you probably should do compact car there. But anyway, that's a topic for a different discussion. I expect that in this decade at some point, they'll probably redo the S and the X to start, and they'll put it in a much more efficient line with 48 volt and steer by wire and casting.
That's super interesting. Yeah, if you look into the cycles that we've seen the Model 3 Highland was released in Europe at first, was rolled out in Europe pretty early, and then of course it went over to your side of the pond. And do you think that also for the refresh of the Model Y, we could see that the refresh will be coming first to Europe and then to the US? Juniper, is that a system that they're gonna implement, or is it unrealistic?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. My guess would be if the Model 3 was refreshed in those areas first, that's probably because, I mean, if you think about Fremont, so the Model 3 is only produced in Fremont in the United States. It's not produced in Texas. And Model 3 was the first car, the first truly mass market car that Tesla made. And they made a ton of mistakes launching that, number one. And number two, they did it in a factory that is not optimized for an electric vehicle manufacturing process. It's like optimized for gas car manufacturing. And so from that standpoint, any car that is coming out of that factory would probably be behind China and Europe, But Model Y is built in Texas. And it's also built in Fremont, but it's also being built in Texas. So my guess is, if I'm a betting man, which I'm not, but for this example, I'll be, my gut tells me they'll move Model Y out of Fremont completely. They'll start shipping it from Texas, and they'll be able to do the Juniper, whatever it's called, in parallel in all three different regions at the same time. But then
that makes sense.
That begs the question, what happens to Fremont then with the Model Y line? And maybe maybe they start doing trial compact out of there too. I don't know. I have no idea. It gets fun to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was thinking like, oh, what a great surprise. I even recorded a review of the car before it was available in the US, and now I was so late behind because it's such a different format. I was struggling to edit everything on time, of course, and that's why people are still waiting for this review, but I don't know if I wanted to release it anymore. But since MKBHD did a review, I'm screwed.
You can still do it. Just do it anyway.
I'm going to do it. It's very in-depth as well. So he did...
Listen, MKBHD doesn't have a charming German accent, okay?
That's true. That's absolutely true. Farzad says yes.
Much better.
But I think it's a good thing that the Europeans and the Chinese got something first. We're still waiting for the Cybertruck, and I still hope that it will come. It is due to the red tape bureaucracy here. We still have to see the crash tests, of course. We still don't have it, but we have information that Tesla is working furiously on getting this thing to Europe as well.
That would be amazing.
Lawyers,
I can't wait for you to see it.
It will be in a showroom here soon, and I'm going to visit that immediately when I see it.
It'll blow your mind.
I have to see it. It's
so sick. It's so
because
sick.
I'm still an early reservation holder, as many people know, and I still will get it when it will be available, and then I'm going to rent it out to kind of co-finance it on the side.
Good. Smart.
Super expensive, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, but and maybe we can just talk about the appeal of the Model 3 in the US, because it's not seeked out for as in Europe or in China, for example. So maybe you can we can dive into this. That how is your perception of the refresh now? Are people hyped for this mini Model S more or less?
It seems like it. I mean, we've had a couple clues coming out of Tesla that the Model 3 has a higher demand than they traditionally have had for the car. So three things have happened. One, the deliveries have been pushed out to later in the year relative to the other models, and then it's had two different occasions of price increases. I think it was increased by $1,000 at first, and then $250 very recently. So it had two different price increases in the States. That's a clear sign, especially in first quarter. In Q1, traditionally, it's the softest period for auto sales in the year. It's the first quarter. And Tesla raised the price of a model in the softest quarter of the year for auto. So that tells you that there's a lot of interest for the car. And it's also... and again, this is where the argument of Tesla should do more to bring awareness to their lower pricing. I mean, $329 a month lease with, I think, $2,500 down for 36 months. That ain't bad. Or it's $3,500 down. I forget how much it is down. I think it's $2,500 down. That's a hell of a deal. That's a very good deal. And then with the EV tax credit being at point of sale, people can just buy the car and take it home for 35 grandish with the EV tax credit. That seems that, I mean, and then you get your car. And I feel like that kind of car for that kind of money is like kind of insane in my opinion. There's a lot of great cars out there, but like that's a perfect example of like, hey, it's a long-term vision of the company to make electric vehicles affordable for the masses. And this is the beautiful thing that they've started for everybody. And companies like Kia and Hyundai are also doing that. And I really think those guys deserve a lot of credit. They're like one of the few legacy automakers are doing a really good job doing the right thing, which is bringing affordable cars that happen to be better than their gas car counterparts. So props to Kia and Hyundai for doing that. But it's par for the course. You have a super affordable car in the Model 3 now, not as affordable as a compact car, that brings a lot of value for money. And so I think in the United States, it's probably going to do better than people realize. I think the United States is moving. It seems like there's a cycle away from expensive vehicles, which are predominantly pickup trucks and also SUVs. And I think there's a movement towards more affordable vehicles, like in this case, the Model 3. But the Model Y is kind of the same price too out here too. So it's just the Model 3 gives a little bit more luxury as it stands right now.
Yeah, and I also think they're going to differentiate the price bracketing because they want to get rid of their Model Ys that they can do the refresh. I think that's the thing that they kind of push for the end of the year or beginning of 2025, I would say, that they're going to do the switch, the Juniper switch. And I think it makes sense that they're going to adapt this facelift kind of, this new styling of the car for the Model Y as well. And what I also see is it's so interesting, when you compare the Model 3s, the refresh is totally different. Many people compared it, it's almost like a Porsche kind of, and people that I've shown the car, and they were like, damn, it looks so sporty. Is that a sports car? How much did it cost? And they were like, they thought it was like 100K or something. They thought,
wow.
And I'm like, no, it's just the standard range Model 3. It's just that's the lowest entry Tesla you can get. And they were like, what? They're mind blown. And I also think the performance variant, it's now talking about Ludicrous. They've shot a trailer of this car in Spain, actually, and Valencia. And that was good. Pretty interesting. So my thought is also now I have to guess how I can return my Model 3 and get this one. That's the main problem, because I think it's going to come out in Europe earlier as well as. But we will see. But here's the recording of this car. You can see it's similar. It has those new arrow wheels with the covers here. People are kind of discussing if they are beautiful or shitty. I would say they look great, in my opinion.
Somewhere
I like
in between.
Them. Yeah, but you can get rid of the plastic, and then you have a nice sporty open wheel.
Lower
like
stance
people
too.
And here you can see it driving around. You can see on the side, I'm going to pause it here for 1 second. It also has a different spoiler here. It's similar like the Model S Plaid, I think, with the blacked, it's not a carbon fiber. It's more like a blacked out glossy line there. And it's subtle. It's very subtle, the changes.
I love those taillights so much.
Yeah.
On the new Model 3.
They're
sick. So good.
They're
so good.
Yeah, I love them
Ludicrous.
too. It looks so much more different than the Model 3, the regular one. And when I see some on the street, I'm like, damn, it looks so much better
It's
than
refined.
the old one. Yeah,
Very
it's so much more refined. Yeah, and yeah, what do you think about the performance variant here? What do you see?
So I remember before the Highland, like when there was like peak Highland rumors and people were trying to figure out what Tesla was going to do with the Highland. My guess, and I hate to pat myself in the back here, but literally everything I called came true, which is they are going to differentiate the Model 3 significantly away from their compact car. Because right now, well, before this refresh, the Model 3 was kind of like a cheaper Model Y. And if you have a cheaper Model Y, which is like, doesn't have a differentiation between, let's say, a compact car, then you're going to have an issue where you're going to have a Model 3 that's not really going to want to be bought by people because they'll just buy the compact car. Whereas now, what you've done is number one, you've upped the luxury of the vehicle significantly. With materials, seats, driving dynamics, noise cancellation, right? The cabin noise. The suspension.
Super noticeable. I have to tell you that. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then the performance variant of that, because they were able to build that sort of foundation, now the performance version basically takes that package and turns it into, the best money you can spend on a performance vehicle. Yes, like dollar for dollar, the best performance per dollar. You won't get the best performance at all, but you'll get the best performance for dollar for any vehicle that you can purchase. And I think that's what they're going for with the Highland.
Yeah, and they are tackling, for example, in Germany, this category where we are seeing here is tackling BMW the hardest, I would say, because BMW has the stance of being
M3
sporty. Killer. Yeah, the M3 killer, exactly. The M3 is I would say the one that it's going to tackle here. It's so interesting because I already drove the suspension of the standard range is already pretty good. It's different than the older Model 3, and the way the handling is, the wheels feel a little bit different, I would say. Like, it's because I've tested the Model 3 before that, like a month before that, and then I had the Highland, and I must say it's having a performance variant. I'm super jealous now that this comes out, and when I paid the car off, I'm gonna switch over to this one. I can tell you that.
Nice.
Because what you can also see, what I really like about the styling here is also the front. They have this spoiler here, or this black bar here on the lower end. This is also for aerodynamic, and they have those inlays here on the side, those vents. And so I think this one is like, it's going to catch on to or compete with the M series of BMW, I would say. Yeah, it's interesting. And
but I think that the overarching point here, if you follow Tesla closely, is that this model is proof that the compact car is coming soon, right? That differentiation has to be made.
Yeah.
Right. True. It has to be made. And so I think that's my biggest takeaway. So it's definitely impressive that they're building a car that's going to try to. I mean, and it's cool. Like from you as a German, the Nürburgring is like Mecca for performance drivers, right? Like people who love cars and who love driving. The Nürburgring is Mecca. That's where people go to have a religious experience in a car. And to this day, I still want to do that. So I might hit you up in the next couple of years here.
You have to. I can prepare and help you set it up, right? We're gonna do that.
We'll take a Model 3 Performance to Nürburgring. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that. Yeah,
we should totally do that. We'll bring the little one too, to come visit Germany. So
perfect. Yeah,
but I think that's the overarching premise here with this, is that this is proof that compact car is right around the corner. And when I mean right around the corner, I mean the next 12, 24 months. Sometimes the words I use are stupid. So, but it's being built on, and you need this product to create the differentiation. The Model Y doesn't really need this level of differentiation yet, or doesn't really need one against the compact car, I believe, because it's going to offer a lot more room. Ideally you still want the luxury from the Model 3 in there, but my guess is the compact car is going to have a form factor that's more closely resembles a hatchback than an SUV. Yeah, I do think it'll be five doors if I were to guess. So so it's exciting. It's extremely exciting to see them go down this path, because it's proof that compact car is a very real thing, and it's around the corner.
That's true. That's a very good point, I think. And you're right with, for example, I think it's an interesting thing to think about that. A Model Y performance, yeah, okay. Performance SUV, cute, funny. But a Model 3 performance in
Makes
that form factor, that's lower center of gravity. It makes so much, it's already sporty.
And I have a Model Y performance. By the way.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
No, I'm the idiot. No, you're right.
No, but I mean, I get it. Also, I would also get a Model X Plaid when I'm totally honest, of course. But for example, that's also the same thing. It's like a heavier car, but it makes sense. But this one makes even more sense because it's more sporty,
absolutely.
And I think it's perfect. It's like a kind of a smaller Porsche, not the Model S, but something smaller here, a mini Model S performance more or less. And I think it's a great idea. And now I have a bigger question here because now we have the Roadster in the picture. My guess in the beginning was the Model 3 Highland is kind of the basis of the Roadster. Do you think that could be? I mean, we've already seen the prototype. Do you think they're gonna use processes of producing this one and then kind of
no
put it downstream, or is it totally different?
The way I would view the Roadster is that the Roadster is like it's Tesla's sort of halo car for what
like the
performance. It's a halo car. I think the S and the X are no longer the halo cars. I think Tesla's halo car is the Cybertruck, and it will be also complemented by the Roadster. And so then the S and the X are going to be, you're going to get the best luxury and extremely good performance for the money. So that's going to be S and the X. And then X gives you more size. The Model 3 is going to be best value for money performance and luxury you can get. Like as far as for the, let's say, everyday person, or at least try to get to the everyday person. But you're going to have a big gap between, say, the S and the 3 when it comes to that kind of stuff over time. The Roadster is going to be, this is just going to, your mind is going to shatter.
It's a spaceship. It's like the Cybertruck is its own category. Special category, not
a hypercar.
It's like
it's going to be like a McLaren P1, a Ferrari LaFerrari type of at a fraction of the cost. That's going to be the.
You could buy 4 of those instead of a McLaren, or even 5 or more. 10 of those. Yeah. 10 of those.
A lot of them. Not to diminish what I mean. The McLaren P1. I see one around my area from time to time. It's stunning. It is just a marvel of engineering. Completely insane. But the Roadster is going to say, well, I can give you 99% of that for 1/10 of the price. Which one do you want, the McLaren or the Roadster, right? And then we'll talk about the Cybertruck as well. You know, it's Halo car as well. So, and then compact car is going to be just lowest cost per mile, point A to point B. It just happens to be a Tesla, and it's going to blow the stocks off any other $25,000 car. Yeah. So the value proposition for those products are very straightforward. And long term, that's what Tesla's advantages is because it can make money on those products. They're able to offer that separation, whereas every other car maker, basically every other car maker, they have to convince you to want that product, because they have to run the ads and the marketing to tell you about, look at this little thing we do better than Tesla. And then the buyer's going to be like, okay, do I want that little thing more than the value for money I'm going to get from the Tesla product?
Right? And the ecosystem also the ecosystem. I mean, again, linking your profiles with the car. I haven't experienced that with another car brand in that way.
Some of them have.
Okay. I have to check if
it's 2024, Jan. Come on.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I've used a pretty analog car. Let's say that. I didn't even have parking sensors on my old car, so you get.
What was your car before this one?
A Subaru. Trezeria or something like this. I don't even know if that's brand? Available.
Who's the manufacturer?
Subaru.
Oh, Subaru? Okay.
Subaru, sorry, okay. I've got to pull up a picture while you could still talk here.
Sure.
Be over
Is it the Impreza? Is it the Impreza equivalent of the...
Not Impreza. No.
Is it smaller?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. I can't wait to see this.
Oh my God, I can't even see this thing anymore. It's so here.
Is it like a compact? Is it like a Golf?
Oh yeah, it's it's. I mean, if you like the Model Y, then you would love this one. Look at that. That was my car before.
Okay, it's cute.
Yeah, it's a cute one. Yeah. No automatic. This one's automatic. I don't have. I have a stick there. That one was automatic. But yeah, that's a car.
So cute.
Yeah, and now you can imagine that I look out of this door because I open the door and look to the behind to see if I bump into another car when I park.
Yeah.
So this is the
So this is what the compact car is going to go up against. So think about that for a second. So the compact car is going to go up against this car, right? And like for like on a new price, you're either going to pay $20,000 to 20. I don't even know if you can buy. I mean, you can buy a $20,000 car in the United States new. You either buy a $20,000 US car, a car in the US new. That's a compact car that looks like that one, and I'm sure it's a great car. It's just small, and it doesn't offer as much as say a more expensive car. Or would you rather pay $25,000 less the $7,500 tax credit, making it $17,500? So would you rather pay less and get an electric car that's going to have way better performance, way better safety, way better ecosystem, way better software, way better driving dynamics, way better throttle response, way better braking, so on and so forth, right? Value proposition breaks. And this is where electric vehicles take over.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's very much true. I think, Farzad, we've said it all. I mean, we've already talked about everything, I would say. We've talked about every category Tesla has. The Cybertruck came a little bit short in this episode, but hey, this one is out. You can order it. I'm super jealous of all the Americans driving around with that thing.
God bless America.
yeah, I can tell you that. I'm also on that camp now. But I'm going to be in Muskegon this year, and I'm going to test drive a Cybertruck there, I hope. So this is going to be around June, and I'm going to be there. So I'm planning in Oregon. It is.
No way.
Yeah. And
cool.
I'm thinking about kind of maybe visiting you also. Let's see. Yeah, that would be cool. Driving down there or flying down to Texas to say hi.
Dude, that'd be sick.
At least. And then we could test your performance variant of the Model Y.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I should give you a tour of Austin. Yeah, we'll have the little one, but I'm sure I'll be able to take a couple hours and show you around, take you out to lunch and stuff. Yeah,
that's true. But
I can't wait.
No worries. But if it doesn't work out, we could
make
check.
it happen.
But
we'll make it happen.
Let's see. You're gonna become a father, so
I have my hands full for sure, but we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So Farzad, thank you very much for being on again. I mean, you've said many interesting points and a lot of food for thought, especially with the categories. With the Model 3 was super interesting. The bracketing the placement of the cars where it sits. It makes so much sense that when they put out the performance variant, it's time for the compact to differentiate. It makes so much sense. And one last thing for the audience, where do you think the first compact car will be produced? Is it China? Is it, of course, Elon Musk said Texas, of course. Yeah, it's going to be in Texas. Giga Texas. Yeah. But which one is second? Do you think Germany will get the compact as well?
China.
In Berlin?
Then Germany.
Okay.
You guys need to chill with the regulations.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I know. Yeah, they're expanding the north right now of the factory. So let's see what they're gonna build there. Maybe they're gonna build Model 3s. It could be, but I'm not sure. I think they're gonna prepare the compact line, and I also assume that Tesla will bring them online closer to each other than you think. Like in Texas, it's gonna go online. Maybe then in Shanghai, kind of 1 month later or something. I can see that. I could see that they're gonna pump it out kind of simultaneously. That would be a huge shock for the industry.
The one thing they have to be careful with though is because they are implementing brand new manufacturing processes. They need to make sure they iron them out. So my guess is there might be like a 12-month delay. They'll probably trial it for 12 months in Texas, get it honed in, and then second generation lines will go live in China. They'll go live in China, Berlin, and Mexico, if I were to guess. Then they'll throw those up in parallel, or they'll try to.
Makes sense. So maybe in the comments, write down what you think. And Farzad, thank you very much for being on again. And there's only one last thing to say, and that's goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Wasn't this episode awesome? Let's accelerate the pace of innovation by subscribing to TeslaFix. It is my absolute favorite channel on the whole interwebs.